Okay, so some people call this like the unbreakable crank pulley. I have an impact gun right here that is good for 150 PSI. They said that that's all you need to pull that off is 150 PSI. I was buzzing on this thing left and right, and lefty loosey, and it would not come loose. So what I did was, and I've done this before and I don't like to do this, but I took my breaker bar right here and I wedged it between the sway bar and the axle. And then I did one crank over on the engine, and the crank pushing, or the starter pushing on the crank teeth, or the flywheel teeth, turned the crank, and then this held it in position and it broke it loose. So I don't like doing that, but anyways. And again, this is a 22 millimeter that I use right here. I had to go buy this special socket, 22 millimeters, but now I'll be able to get this off and you guys can see it's loose. So I'll pull this off, and that's how I did that. You know, I undid the serpentine belt. This is pretty accessible because the firewall comes up like this right here. There's no, you know, you're not behind the firewall. You have to undo a motor mount and then lower it, which is pretty nice. But I'll do lefty loosey, pull that off, and then I'll compare the two. And then, all right, so I was kidding. So this is a motor mount right here. You do have to move this. Why? Because the crank pulley, I'll set that up there. The crank pulley right here, when I went to pull it out, it's hitting this right here, which I was disappointed, but it won't come out. So now I can lower the engine a little bit. I use the jack on the oil pan slightly. There's still 3 motor mounts holding up. I have a jack stand over here. The wheel is removed again, but we're gonna lower it a little bit down. The engine probably like 2 inches, and then it'll allow this one to slide out, slide the new one on, and then we'll... All right, just like I said, so I did lower the engine slightly. You really don't even have to come down an inch, maybe like a ½ inch. And then here's the old one. I pulled it out. This thing is beat up. Jeez, I don't know why. I guess they put these harmonic balancers in here, the little cushion, the rubber, because it reduces vibrations, is the word that they like to use, vibrations. But anyways, I did call into a shop and said, hey, how much would it be to have a crank pulley, remove this one and put a new one in? They first said that they have to order the part, which is expensive, and then they said they'd have to do it for the labor. All said and done, $700. That is insane. I believe I got this, the used one, which is in spectacular condition, as you guys can see, this one. I think I got it for like $25 or $30, but look at that rubber in there, it's like perfect. So this will reduce any kind of engine vibrations, which I'm really excited, especially if I want to go bigger boost or bigger turbo on it. So I'm gonna put that on. Let's clean up that area with a little bit of brake clean, and then we'll lube it up a little bit, slide this new one on. There's a key thing in here, and I got this awesome, check this thing out, guys. I got this thing right here. It's an oversized magnet. If it'll pull it out of there, let's see here. Yeah, look at that. Pulled it right on out. So that's what's this key thing. I think that's the crank positioner sensor. Part of that has to do with that. This one's pretty dirty. Mine did come with a new one. So we'll clean it all and put the new one in there. All right, this is gonna be a before. If you haven't gone by MITCHDORE.com, what's up? Why not? Go grab one of these. I'm gonna use this nice detail brush right here. You can use it when you're detailing your car. You can use it for projects like these. These things are black and red, awesome, black and red, very affordable. But highly recommend grabbing by one of these, because I'll use this to agitate around the engine and clean that all up. It will look brand spanking new. Huge difference. That doesn't even look like the same block. Look at that. Awesome. So we can now see that there's a little dimple thing right underneath there. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that's where we're gonna put this. I don't know what they call this, like a keeper or whatever, but we're gonna put that in there with that new crank pulley. We're gonna slide it on there. I will use some WD-40 to lube it all up. I actually have nice lubricant too I'll use on that, so we'll use it so it slides on quick. Just like in life, we all make mistakes. Mitch, where's your oil pan, bro? I made a huge mistake. Don't do what I just did. It's right here. See this right here? So this is that little piece for the crank pulley that goes up against the crank, and it sits right up here like that. Let me grab you guys. Like this right here in this little like nook thing. Well, I put it up in there, and then when I went to slide the crank thing on, it fell down in here. And I just like had a heart attack. I was like, no, 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 no. I could not believe I did that. It was this little piece. Don't do that. I don't know what this is called, but I think it's a piece of I think it's magnetic, and it tells you where the crank is positioned, so it's part of the crank positioner sensor, I think, I'm assuming. Anywho, that fell down below. I'm so thankful that when I pulled out the oil pan, it was sitting right there. That broke my heart. Okay, so don't do what I did. Let's go ahead and grab this new one right here, and I'll clean all this off and reinstall this. Maybe I'll do a video on how to remove an oil pan from an EVO X. There wasn't very much information on that either. Okay, this is pretty dang difficult. I actually removed that oil pan like I showed you. I did clean it, which I'm happy about, but look right in there, that is how that goes. It goes, let me grab my other one. So it goes like this. This is my original one. It's actually kind of worn out on it, but it goes up like that. And then the lower flat part goes on the lower half. So you take it like this and you slide it in. The rounded part faces up towards the ceiling, and then you slide it in there. You have to put this in there. It is slightly magnetic, so if you put it in there, you have to put this in there first, and then you can slide that crank pulley in there. Now we have the crank pulley on. I'm gonna buzz this thing on. I'm just tired of this. Is a big problem. Okay, that pulley's officially in. Very happy. That's it. It's in there. What I was doing next is I had to come up underneath here and take a razor blade and scratch all of that off, because I have to build a new gasket for the oil pan. There are 21 10mm bolts, and then I think there's 4 12mm bolts to remove the oil pan. Very difficult. You also have to remove a bracket that holds the bottom of this, that connects these coolant lines with the AC compressor, and you have to remove that as well. So what I did now is I just went over the thing with brake clean. So I was brake cleaning, you guys can see that I was doing that. Brake cleaning underneath, and then I'll make a new gasket and install the new oil pan. And then I also bought a new serpentine belt. Just a crazy amount of work. This ended up turning into a ton of work. I just don't want you guys to ever drop that little thing like I did. And if you do, you're gonna have to do this. You do not want to drive around with that. Okay, here's the oil pan. Here's my Optimum Black High Flex gasket maker. So we're just gonna go along the entire line here. And I'll make a new gasket. You guys can see it's coming right out of there. And we'll just do that, and we'll just squish this all the way. I gotta do it with 2 hands, guys. I'll set you down, but I gotta do this around the whole oil pan and make a nice seal around here, and I'll show you when I'm... Okay, so that's my final. I like to rub it all the way around. Some people just like to beat it all the way across, but I like to make it so that it has a nice seal on there. I also installed a new oil plug. So let's put this back on so that we can do what this original video is for, that crank. Okay, so new crank pulley is on there. So happy. That was a really difficult job, very difficult. I'm not gonna put oil into the oil pan because this sealant that I used on it says it wants 24 hours, so I won't do that. But that would be how you do that. So here's the old one. It is just, look how gnarly that is. So I'm like, sometimes I keep these for keepsakes to remember how hard the job was, but it is just going in the trash. Okay, so the car is back down. We are happy. The Evo's all set down. New intercooler, new crank pulley, new serpentine belt, added a little bit of coolant because it needs 24 hours for that thing to completely seal. So I don't want to mix oil in there and then eventually get a gasket leak. So we'll wait 24 hours. I absolutely love the Evo. Man, I spent a lot of hard work on this. I really like this car. I know my audience doesn't like it as much, or they don't spend too much time on it, but I'm still going to put a lot of effort into it. Why? This is the best daily driver of all time. In my opinion, it's so fun, so fast, and I don't really have too many issues with it, to be honest. It's been pretty reliable. I like it, and I drive it really hard every time. YouTube, what's up, guys? Welcome back. More Evo content. I'm already, oh man, that's a dirty one. I'm already dirty hand. Why am I already dirty hand? Because I was already working on the Evo. Today we're gonna add oil. That gasket that I put on last time has sealed. So we do have a new gasket around the oil pan. Oh man, I got a lot of new parts. Let's go ahead and jump on the Evo and we'll do some rips and do some flybys because I'm gonna get this thing ready, running again, and I'm really excited. New intercooler. We're not gonna put the boost controller on yet because I wanna do some rips, but we will put the boost controller on real soon here. So let's go ahead and jump over. All right, we are back over to my Evo 10. On my Evo 10, what are we doing today? So we put on a new oil pan. We put on a new serpentine belt, a brand new serpentine belt. I went with Gates. I did have an OEM one on there, but I put a new Gates one on there. So we have a new serpentine belt. I also removed a heat shield, 2 heat shields that were just a pain. Why did I remove those heat shields? Because I'm gonna eventually put on the downpipe soon here, and I've heard it's like a pain, but I did get the heat shields off. I also probably gonna do a manifold next too. So I'll probably do a manifold one. That OEM one is notorious for having cracks in it, and it's very unattractive. They're just really ugly. The turbo looks nice though. I'd like to put a turbo on this as well. So there's a lot of things I wanna do on this side, but let's focus on what we've just accomplished. One of the biggest things that we have accomplished is that new crank pulley right over there, and then resealing up the, we went and resealed up the oil pan. So that's that new oil pan, or not new oil pan, but new sealant on it. So we're able to add oil. There are a ton of different oils you can add out there. I've just been with Castrol 5W30, the Castrol Edge, for so long. I just run this and I run it for about 3,000, 3,500 miles, and I've had no issues with this. I did spin a rod bearing on a Toyota 2ZZ Celica one time, and I was using Mobile Run, so for some reason it just has a bad taste in for me. But I like Castrol Edge 5W30. That's what I'm going to add to my Evo. I know there's other ones that they say are proven better, but this is what I like to use, and I've had no issues with Castrol Edge. Okay, so I just topped off that oil. We're going to put the cap back on. Now, what do I need to do next that I put that in there? I'm actually going to do a crank over, and then I'll put the front bumper back on, and we'll go for a ride. Again, new intercooler, new serpentine belt, new crank pulley, removed the heat shield, new oil pan gasket, and a new oil plug. A lot of work done on the Evo. The next thing that's going to come is we're going to do a boost controller, which I'll show you guys how to do that. I'll probably do a downpipe and then a tune, or probably a downpipe, or probably tune, then downpipe, then another tune, just depending on what I want to do. Because if I might do a bigger turbo. That's my next thing. I might be, or just a better turbo. Alright, I'm so dirty. I'd hate for you guys to have to go through the same thing that I did. But yeah, new crank pulley, a lot of new parts to put on this. I really like that intercooler. It's awesome. I got some cleaning I got to do. But yeah, this is going to be a hot car, and I'm really excited to do it. That boost controller, and it'll really pick up. The next thing that I'll be adding on to this is going to be a downpipe, which I probably should have done at the same time I did this, but I'll do it next time. So yeah, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video, guys. I usually close the camera out, but my hand's so dirty I don't want to touch the camera. I'll see you guys.